11 p.m. and these are the headlines. On the occasion of the new Amazigh year, the President of the Republic congratulated the Algerian people. Army General Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, presided over today on behalf of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, the inauguration ceremony of Major General Tahar Ayad as the new acting commander of the Republican Guard. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded to the French far-right disinformation campaign against Algeria in a statement, underscoring that Algiers is not engaged in an escalation logic. We will revisit the numerous crimes committed by colonial France, including the nuclear test carried out 65 years ago, with facts concealed on purpose, before addressing the unanimous rejection of France's new colonial policies in Africa as weakened influence on the continent. Yinayer, a profound symbol of Algerian identity, is celebrated today, bringing families together for festive meals. Our camera spotted the celebrations. Stay tuned by the end of the edition. All right, welcome back, everyone. First of all, and on the occasion of the new Amazigh year, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, offered his wishes to all Algerians, stating, as a guest to all Algerians and our national community abroad. On the occasion of the new Amazigh year, may Allah grant health and well-being to all. Eternal glory to proud and dignified Algeria, wrote President Tebboune on his official social media account. Army General Said Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, presided over, on behalf of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, the installation ceremony of Major General Tahar Ayad in his new function as acting commander of the Republican Guard. Rania Al-Bahri reports.
After the welcoming ceremony, the Army General observed a moment of silence at the entrance of the headquarters of the Republican Guard Command in memory of the hero martyr Mohammed Belouizdad, after whom the headquarters is named. The Army General then laid a wreath of flowers in front of the commemorative stele of the martyr and recited the Fatiha in his memory and that of the brave martyrs. The Army General then proceeded to inspect the squares of the executives and personnel of the Republican Guard Command, aligned on the parade ground, before announcing the official appointment of Major General Tahar Ayad as the new commander of the Republican Guard, replacing Army General Ben Ali, in accordance with the presidential decree of January 6, 2025. The Army General added that the personnel has to work under the new commander's authority, follow his orders and carry out his instructions in the interest of the services, in line with military regulations and the laws of the Republic, while remaining loyal to the sacrifices of the valiant martyrs and the values of the glorious revolution. Subsequently, the Army General presided over the ceremony of handing over the national flag. Before signing the minutes of the transfer of power. Afterward, the Army General met with the command executives and personnel at the headquarters of the Republican Guard and gave an orientation speech which was broadcasted via video conference to all the units of the Republican Guard. In his speech, he congratulated Major General Tahir Ayad on being appointed interim commander of the Republican Guard, while also praising the outstanding career of the Army General Ben Ali. He then emphasized the great importance granted to the Republican Guard under the leadership, guidance, and the support of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, and Minister of National Defense. He explained that this importance was reflected in the effort to bring together all human and material resources capable of developing the capabilities of the Guard. Republican Guard, ensuring it could effectively carry out the missions assigned to it. He added that the goal was to make it an elite force of excellence. He further mentioned that they had always worked to provide effective and high-quality support for human resources, which he considered to be a crucial pillar of any successful development and progress effort. The Army General urged the Republican Guard personnel to stay cautious and vigilant, highlighting the importance of strengthening combat preparation to face regional and global threats. He emphasized the need for continuous efforts to ensure the readiness of the National People's Army. The Army General stated that it was the responsibility of the Republican Guard to maintain high operational readiness and execute training plans perfectly, particularly through the implementation of the 2024-2025 Force Preparation Directive. At the end of the meeting, the Army General conveyed his best wishes to the personnel of the Republican Guard and all members of the National People's Army for the new year and the Amazigh New Year 2975. He wished them success in carrying out their national duties to ensure the security and stability of Algeria. He then followed the comments of Republican Guard executives and listened to their concerns.
شكرا لك. بارك الله فيك.
Representing the President of the Republic, the Speaker of the People's National Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, took part in the inauguration ceremony of the elected President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Mr. Nicolas Maduro Moros. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated today that the far right, known for its hateful and vengeful mindset, has, through its supporters within the French government, launched a campaign of disinformation and defamation against Algeria, believing it has found a pretext to vent its frustrations, anger and resentment. The ministry emphasized that, contrary to the claims of the French far right, its agents and its spokespersons, Algeria has not engaged in any form of escalation, provocation or humiliation, adding that it is the far right and its representatives who are trying to impose their resentments filled with threats and intimidation on the Algeria-France relationship, expressing them openly and without restraint. The ministry also pointed out the attempt by a faction nostalgic for the past to exploit the arbitrary expulsion of an Algerian citizen from France to Algeria as an opportunity to settle historical scores with sovereign and independent Algeria. The ministry noted that this opportunity was poorly chosen, as the individual subject to the expulsion has lived in France for 36 years, held a residence permit for 15 years, is the father of 2 children born from his marriage to a French citizen, and was socially integrated, having held a stable job for 15 years. The ministry stressed that all these factors undeniably granted the individual rights which he would be enabled to assert before the French or European courts following the hasty and controversial expulsion. As a result, he was denied the chance to undergo a proper judicial process, which would have protected him from the abuse of power, in particular since the execution of the expulsion order would have deprived him of the opportunity to defend his right during the scheduled trial on February 24. The ministry also pointed to violations by the French side of the Algeria-France Consular Convention of May 25, 1974, stating, "The French authorities did not deem it necessary to inform the Algerian side of the arrest, detention, or expulsion of the individual in question. Moreover, the French side did not respond to Algeria's request for consular protection through the right of visit. In conclusion, the ministry affirmed that given these violations of the rights acquired by the Algerian national on French territory, Algeria's decision in this matter was motivated by the desire to allow the individual to respond to the accusations against him, assert his rights and defend himself within the framework of a fair and just judicial process on French territory. In line with the high directives of the President of the Republic and his commitment to addressing the concerns of the national community abroad, and with the aim of facilitating their entry into the homeland and their return to their usual places of residence, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs informs Algerian citizens residing abroad who hold valid foreign passports that they are exceptionally allowed until December 31, 2025 to enter and exit the national territory without obtaining a prior visa. This is conditional upon using the same documents for both entry and exit under one of the following conditions: presenting a valid foreign passport accompanied by a biometric national ID card, even if expired; presenting a valid foreign passport accompanied by a biometric Algerian passport, even if expired. In compliance with the directives of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, and as part of Algeria's commitment to humanitarian solidarity with African nations, 4 cargo planes from the PNA departed today from Buferik Air Base, carrying vital humanitarian aid to Burkina Faso. The shipment, supervised by the Algerian Red Crescent, includes food, supplies, blankets and medicines. This operation highlights the bonds of friendship and solidarity between the peoples of Algeria and Burkina Faso. During a conference attended by party executives and locally elected representatives, Youssef Aouchiche, first National Secretary of the Socialist Forces Front, denounced the provocations from France, aligning with far-right ideologies in blatant disregard of diplomatic principles and the mutual respect that should govern relations between states. Let's have a listen to him.
The shameful statements of the French Interior Minister are carrying direct threats towards an independent and sovereign state, unacceptable statements that the Front of Socialist Forces denounces vigorously. The declarations reflect the will of France to manage current affairs, a will that maintains dominant practices. These declarations also constitute a flagrant violation of diplomatic principles and respect between independent countries. France must recall, as did the colonial France, that Algeria has an honor that cost it dearly, the lives of its martyrs who sacrificed themselves for an independent Algeria. Those who colonized and tortured must admit their crimes. France must abandon its colonial logic, its protectorate practices and morbid contempt which marks its official speech. Algeria, strong with its history and its heroic fight, has no lesson to receive from a country that turned its back against the principles it pretended to defend, and from a government that supports the genocide committed against Gaza.
صمتها أو بأفعالها الإبادة الجماعية الجارية في غزة.
And for his part, the president of the National Construction Movement, Abdelkader Ben Grina, emphasized the importance of national unity during the opening session of the regular meeting of the National Shura Council. He added that those against our nation these days are driven by deep-seated hostility and discomfort with the progress of building a sovereign new Algeria. Let's have a listen.
Today, Algeria devotes the principle of equality regarding mutual respect that cannot be compromised in the face of those targeting it, and this by relying on cohesion, the strength of its internal front and the awareness of its people.
The president of the Rally for Hope for Algeria, or تجمع أمل الجزائر, Fatma Zahra Zerwati, expressed in Tiaret the party's rejection of France's actions, describing them as unethical and contrary to the norms and political relations between states. She affirmed Algeria's sovereignty in its decisions during a meeting with her party members on the occasion of the Amazigh New Year. Let's have a listen to her.
Algeria needs us to stay united in front of these attempts, targeting its reputation and sovereignty. Provoking our country means provoking the Algerian people.
And the French footprint in Africa is increasingly being questioned. A unanimous rejection of France's neo-colonial policy has been felt, leading to a decline in its influence, whether military, diplomatic, economic, or even cultural in its former colonies. Najah Tayyar.
With Africa facing new geopolitical challenges and transformations, fresh power dynamics and strategic blocs have emerged, shifting the traditional balance of alliances. The continent, long desired for its mineral and oil wealth, is now determined to reclaim control over its resources. As tensions escalate, France's neo-colonial policies are sparking unprecedented popular protests across Africa. This loss of credibility is tied to the country's colonial past, with France unable to rid itself of its arrogance and perception of Africa as its geopolitical preserve. Even experts recognize that France's influence is waning on the continent, as evidenced by the overwhelming rejection of its military presence and the decline of its diplomatic, economic and cultural influence in former colonies. This country has lost a lot of advantages on the international stage. First of all, the debt situation, then the situation of the loss of many African partner countries, the conflicts with Algeria. Algeria itself has not been spared, and other elements that are extremely important. Africa has a predominantly young population, and France, which, as you know, also has difficulties on the budgetary economic level and difficulties in all areas. We have a common enemy. It's the West, it's France. So it's time we wake up, people of Africa. Let's come back united. United, we're stronger. I militate for this unity. The African countries are powerful, and when they're in union, they're even more powerful. As regional powers emerge and the world becomes more multipolar, Africa is resolute in its determination to end France's neo-colonial policies. This approach, which undermines sovereignty and independence, no longer has a place in the countries committed to being the sole masters of their own destinies. The need to redefine the economic and diplomatic relations is becoming increasingly urgent, with a focus on fostering equitable cooperation and win-win partnerships. In this context, France is viewed as out of touch with the reality and aspirations of the African peoples and states, who reject any interference in their internal affairs. The French leaders must learn to respect the African people and recognize the values of their sacrifices. And instead of focusing on Africa, France must be concentrating its efforts on resolving the problems that preoccupy the French people. Algeria is fully aware of all the maneuvers surrounding it, particularly those of the West and France, which do not want a strong and influential Algeria. Economically, France is seen as predatory and domineering power, offering inconsistent lessons on democracy and human rights, which further fuels Africa's desire for self-determination and independence.
And France still refuses to acknowledge the nuclear test in Algeria as crimes against humanity. These tests, which took place between 1960 and 1962, have caused significant health and environmental damage long remained in the shadows, particularly in the southern regions largely affected. Najah Tayyar.
65 years ago, an infamous operation known as Gerboise Bleu took place, involving a nuclear explosion 5 times more powerful than that of Hiroshima in Japan. More than 100 Algerians were sacrificed then, and the population continues to suffer from the long-term effects of the radioactivity. Despite this, the crime remains unpunished. To put into perspective, a single grain of sand can retain radiation for 24,000 years. On February 13, 1960, the French colonial army carried out its first nuclear bomb detonation at Regan in the Algerian Sahara. With a power of 70 kilotons of plutonium, the explosion destroyed everything within a 300-meter radius, marking the beginning of a long series of nuclear tests. In total, France detonated 17 atomic bombs, using the Algerian Sahara as a testing ground and its population as inwitting guinea pigs. To this day, the devastating consequences of radiation remain evident, serving as a stark reminder of the barbaric methods employed by the French colonizer. Exposure to radioactive radiations has led to various health issues, including sterility, congenital malformations, and different types of cancer. These effects carry an increased risk of being transmitted to the future generations, leaving a lasting and devastating impact. France continues to stubbornly refuse to acknowledge its moral and legal responsibility for its nuclear tests. To this day, it withholds the archives, topographical maps of nuclear waste burial sites, and information on the contaminated zones, preventing measures that could protect against further victims.
And today we take you to Ihsnaouen on the occasion of the Ynair feast. The village, classified as the cleanest in the region, promises a joyful and festive Ynair by preserving the traditions passed down from generation to another. Yamina Saiji, taken up by Rani Al-Bahri.
Perched on the green heights of Meshtras, the village of Ihsnaouen won the prestigious title of the cleanest village during the 11th edition of the annual Tizi Ouzou competition. This event rewards villages for their ecological initiatives and environmental protection efforts. In Ihsnaouen, the community's commitment is evident through waste storing, the maintenance of public spaces, and awareness workshops for all ages. The village committee has united the population around shared values, blending modernity with respect for traditions.
Cette année, Dieu merci, on est arrivé à décrocher la première place.
We managed to get first place, and our main goal is local tourism. The village is already preparing for this, with citizens converting their homes into guest houses that will soon be operational.
On est en train de les transformer en maisons d'hôtes, et dans un prochain avenir, elles seront en service.
On the eve of Ynair, the Berber New Year, the village committee is organizing festive activities to celebrate this important date on the Berber calendar, which symbolizes unity and renewal.
Yann, c'est premier, ailleurs c'est le mois, donc c'est le premier mois du calendrier agraire.
Ynair is the first month of the Berber calendar. We prepare it together. There is a sense of community among men, women, children, and the elderly, with women leading the celebration by cooking couscous, the symbol of Ynair.
Du moment que le symbole de Ynair, c'est la succion, ça va y souffrir.
The villagers prepare with enthusiasm, honoring ancestral customs, hearty meals, traditional songs, and decorations. For some, it's also a chance to celebrate weddings.
Fête, on va faire le nez pour les enfants. On va y habiller tous les robes de Kabyle.
We're going to party, do henna for the children, and wear Kabyle dresses. In a couple of days, we'll pick up the bride from her husband's house and celebrate big.
On va faire la grande fête.
On est en train de préparer le couscous Ynair. Alors, dans le couscous, on met 7 légumes.
We're preparing Ynair couscous with 7 vegetables and chicken, using both barley and wheat couscous.
Normalement, ça, c'est nécessaire. Et voilà ce qu'on met dans la sauce.
مبروك يناير نوكا كلمان لا هذا توالى مش نخدم الكلين هذا يناير نتقابل سويني قلهان ان شاء الله غادي يقابلونا نتا سويني قلهان كلمان لا الكلين.
Today, Ihsnaouen is more than just a village. It serves as a shining example for nearby communities, demonstrating that environmental sustainability and the preservation of cultural heritage can coexist harmoniously.
And that was it for today's news. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.